Oh, morning, everyone. Great to be back with you guys. Obviously, game week here, rocking and rolling. We have had a couple days of advanced prep on a really good Wazoo team, that is coming home here for homecoming at beautiful Snapdragon Stadium. So looking forward to our supporters, our fan base coming out and packing that stadium. Guys handled the bye the right way. We've had really good work. We're at a better place health-wise than we were, coming out of that Wyoming game. Maximize the time to get refreshed, get recharged, carve some pumpkins, and come down the stretch here as we go at the second half of the season.
What's the status of the health of the linebackers?
A lot of tests are going to be run today on their off day, and they're trending the right way towards being able to play this weekend. But our medical team will run those evaluations, but feel good about where we are.
Did your left tackle have a knee surgery yet?
Yeah, yes.
Timeline for him?
Spring, he'll be back up and available.
What's it like for the linebackers having to play with a club? Can you go through a little bit about the pluses and minuses of that?
Yeah, great question probably for them. Was fortunate during my career to not have to utilize a club at any point in time. I know obviously we had an extensive list of guys, this year that have, been able to do a great job, again, working with our medical team and being able to put a plan in place with them, right, to be able to do that. I know it probably makes it a little bit more challenging them for, go back to their dorm rooms and strum a guitar every now and again, right? But they're able to use it the right way and play the game, at a high level and still have a lot of production with us.
Coach them any differently as far as tackling or anything, or their focus on how to play?
I think the biggest probably technical aspect of it is their ability to shock and shed, right, and within their hand placement. Obviously, when you don't have the ability to use all your digits, right, in that regard, to be able, we talk in terms of a winning edge position with our hat and with our hands, where we want to be able to be in a position with our thumbs up and our elbows down and control the breastplate to be able to leverage and tear off when need be. Obviously, when one of your hands is in a club, that makes that a little bit more challenging.
And then you've had guys at every line of defense with a club. Does it impact, you think, any position more than another?
I would say probably the linebackers the most, right, with their ability both in the run and pass game to fit and tear off and detach on second-level players, right, the line that's working to them, and obviously being able to, impact the game and work to get interceptions. I think, the guys that are at level one, they can still get their hand up, match the quarterback's hand, and be able to reduce and rip and do those sorts of things. And then, again, the third-level players that we've had that have had it, again, they're playing more in space and they have opportunities to body catch and things like that. So probably just the, that level two player of the linebackers having to do a little bit of everything within the run game, and then obviously dropping to the pass, where you're using your hands the most in that regard.
And did it cut down on holding?
Cut down on holding? Yeah, probably. Yeah, absolutely.
Coach, how many guys are in a club right now at linebacker? 2 or 3?
Right now we got 2. Yes, sir.
Sean, what were your expectations at the start of the season with the defense? And has that side exceeded everything you would have imagined? Just statistically, this has been really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's been a great history here of playing elite defense, and we knew even with the changes that we were making, we didn't want that expectation or that standard to drop. Day in and day out, we want to continue in all 3 phases to be evolving and keep becoming as good as we can be, right? If the guys come in here and they constantly have that growth mindset of where we continue to get better no matter what the rankings are or where we happen to be in scoring defense or red zone efficiency or at an individual level, who's leading this or where it might be, right? Like, we want to have this mindset that it doesn't matter and we got to get better. And I think everyone in the organization and within the team has done a really nice job of embracing that. And obviously that phase of, our program and of our team is playing at a high level, and we expect them to continue to grow and to do a good job in that regard.
What surprised you the most about the defense?
I wouldn't say, again, nothing that's been too surprising. Again, because of the way that they go about their business, the way that they're being led, the connections that we have on that side of the ball, I believe that we had a good chance to be, a really good unit, and they've been very opportunistic in generating turnovers, and obviously the impact that we've had in creating havoc at all 3 levels and being able to play the game on our terms has been really good.
Where does Washington State put the most stress on your defense?
Their quarterback, his dual threat ability, right? I mean, he's able to hurt you in a lot of different ways, and he's a very, very accurate thrower. They got offensive skill positions that, those guys can take the ball the distance and change the scoreboard in a hurry. But anytime that you have a quarterback of this magnitude that can hurt you and is utilized within the scheme the right way, both run and pass, that creates a lot of stress, for your defensive unit.
Can you compare Mateer's style to somebody we've seen?
No, I think he's unique, and I think he's an exceptional talent that is going to be a great challenge for us this week, and I'm glad we've had a little extra time to prepare for him.
How beneficial is it if you've gone against quarterbacks that do offer that sort of dual threat option before, and having that extra week to prepare for them?
Yeah, I mean, the extra time is always really beneficial, right? And at this point in the season, where we kind of talked earlier in the year about where we were chasing ghosts, at this point in time where they've played 7 games, we kind of have a good handle of who they are and what they like to do and what the strengths and weaknesses of their units are. Now, again, I think they do an unbelievable job as a staff in all 3 phases of like their pre-snap window dressing, the way that they, show different sets, they motion, they do a really nice job with the course of their backs and the way that they protect some of their run game. So again, they stress you out in a lot of different ways, and I know there'll be some new wrinkles as well because they've shown that that's who they are week in and week out, where they're going to give you something a little bit different. But anytime that you have a little extra time, obviously, to pour into the prep, you can be a little bit more prepared. And again, I feel like our staff and our kids have handled that really, really well with the extra time that we have had.
Is Mateer dangerous because he moves the pocket, likes to move the pocket, makes plays off moving the pocket?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you got a guy that can extend and create off script, right, it just extends the length of the plays, which means we have to cover longer. And again, he has the ability to make a guy miss in the open field. So even when you feel like you got a situation where you're going to get him to the ground, he has the ability to make a man miss and creates with his legs. And then there's able to stay on schedule or create explosive plays on his own. So yeah, he can hurt you in a lot of different ways.
What's the strength of their defense?
Their front 6, they're 4 down, and their backers, 52 and 60. The nose and their box backer have played a lot of football for them. They do a really nice job, in providing strength to their defensive unit through their core. And I think both of their corners are really exceptional players. 24 has multiple interceptions that have changed the course of the game. He got the pick 6 against the team up north that really, flipped the script of that game. But they do a really nice job, again, utilizing their talent, and then they do a really nice job with their pressure package to keep you off balance and to keep you off schedule.
Their Washington State's leading rusher is their QB. What advantage does that give an offense when you can play 11 on 11 because the QB is such a threat on the ground?
Yeah, I mean, it equates numbers, to your point, right? Like we've talked a lot about, offensive football, regardless of what your scheme is, comes down to space, numbers, and leverage, right? And so they do a nice job with their formations, creating space. Obviously, with their willingness and the quarterback's ability, right, to run the football, they're able to equate numbers. And then again, I think they do a fabulous job with their pre-snap movement to create numbers and leverage advantages that then compound all those other factors that go with it. So it's a really good scheme with really talented players, and we got to bring our best, to put ourselves in a position to win come Saturday.
Last year at Colorado, through 6 games, this year, the running game hasn't been quite up to what it was at Kent State. Trying to put your finger on what that is, it could be Dustin Crum, the fact that he was more of that dual threat guy. Has not getting where the running game needs to be the last 2 years, has that changed your perspective on how important a dual threat is in your offense?
No, I think the ability to have a guy that, again, can extend plays, right, and be able to control a C-gap with his legs is critically important. But just, again, being able to equate numbers in that regard and the way that college football has evolved, right? If you have the ability to have a guy that can run around a little bit and extend plays and provide value in the run game, then that's going to be a benefit to you, right? But we're going to find a guy who's going to be able to throw it first and foremost and be able to spread the field in that regard. And then what value he brings with his legs will be a secondary benefit to our offense.
And do you anticipate, as Danny gets older, his body matures, he goes to the weight program, all that kind of stuff, that part of his game could, maybe take a little bit of a level? Obviously, when he's hurt, it's hard to really evaluate exactly where he's at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think as he continues to develop, he continues to mature, and he continues to operate within the framework of our system, yeah, there's definitely going to be a significant leap in that regard.
Is he getting closer to where his legs can kind of come back into play, or do you think it's going to be kind of like that?
I think it's something that we'll continue to monitor as we move through the season as we go with it.
Did the bye week give any more stability on the offensive line? Like, feel more settled to you?
I think with the guys that we've been rolling in there, we're more healthy. I know that Braden, benefited from the injury that he's been battling through the past few weeks, and so I feel like we're in a good spot with where we need to be.
You said that it was pass first, running would be secondary, whatever he's able to get there. Why is that the best thing for your offense?
Because you can generally create more explosive plays through the air than running. So being able to obviously create those explosives, right? If you're able to generate explosive plays of 20 yards or more, your percentage of scoring touchdowns on said drives goes up over 80%. So being able to play catch and to stretch the field vertically and to generate those explosive plays through the air, which are more repeatable than with the quarterback's legs in particular, that's where it's more of a benefit for us in the way that we prioritize as we're evaluating the physical traits that we're looking for in our quarterbacks and that our quarterbacks possess here currently.
Looking at Danny's game, he's been really good in the short routes. He's been great throwing the deep ball, and that's really involved. But that intermediate stuff, and haven't really seen a lot of that from him yet. Is that the design of your offense, or kind of a growth area for him as he gets better in college?
I think it's a little bit of both, plus what also the defense is giving us, right? Like, so we talk in terms of, we want to be patient enough and to take those calculated shots, right, within the framework of the system. But, we're going to take what the defense gives us. And if we're consistent and we're patient enough to do that, yet still maximizing the calculated shots, ultimately the defense is going to give us the game, right? And so the way that we've been played with a lot of single high structure that we've seen, right, it's either short game or it's deep game, right? There's not a whole lot of room to operate and function in that intermediate passing game off of it. So maybe as we move into the second half of the season, we'll start seeing some different pictures and some different presentations as to what is going on. But Danny's been doing what we've asked him to do and, operating, at a pretty high clip. And obviously that can get better more consistently as we go, like we've discussed. But, it's a kind of a byproduct of a lot of different factors in that regard.
So am I understanding right? They're stacking the box, which is putting a lot of numbers in that kind of second level, and that makes it harder because there's more bodies there to be able to throw the ball.
Yeah, again, like it just limits the space in that area of the field.
How impressive is it for an 18-year-old freshman to not make the mistakes and pile up turnovers? What's he got, one pick?
Yeah. I mean, it's very impressive, right? And again, like it's something that we value when we talk about obviously the keys to victory and our plan to win. It starts with controlling the controllables, and ball security and turnover margin to us and our family is a controllable, right? We've joked about it in here, but it's so important they name the game after it, right? Like the football is everything. We tell our skill guys, no matter who's touching it in any phase of the game, when you're carrying the ball and you're caring for the ball, you're caring for the hopes and dreams of the football team, right? So you better value it, you better take care of it. And he's done a really, really nice job of that through the first half of the season.
Washington State's not in the top 25, but it's right there in the others receiving votes. So
Sure.
What does that say about the caliber of the opponent, and what can you tell fans who are looking in on this game on Saturday that they can expect to see?
Yeah, I mean, really good opponent that's coming down here, right? I mean, only one loss on the season, and to get a really good Boise team, and they've knocked off, Texas Tech, Power 5, right? I mean, they've done an excellent job. Their point differential is really, really good. Their turnover margin is really, really good. It's going to be a great game come Saturday night, right, against two quality teams that, are both playing at a high level right now, and excited for the opportunity to go compete again.
Their wide receiver group's got unbelievable yards per catch.
Yep.
Is that yards after catch, or is that actually deep stuff?
It's both, right? I mean, but again, like they have the ability when they get their speed and space, again, that those guys can take it the distance and change the scoreboard.
You'd like to say that everybody who travels with you on the road adds something to what you all are there to go win a game.
Yes, sir.
Margaret Drake, how does the fifth quarterback get to be on the travel squad?
Yeah, I mean, he's adding value in the special teams depth. He's working through kind of a position change right now. He's got a skill set that no matter how much we coach it, like, he's a 10-something 100-meter guy, right? That speed, and he did a good job picking his parents, right? And so he's got some good traits in that regard that are some great materials that we can work with. And he's got, high character and a great attitude that's willing to learn and try new things and serve the team in whatever capacity that is. So he's finding value in that role, and we'll continue to grow that out as we move forward with it.
So I hear that right, that he's moving to wide receiver?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Against an opponent like this that has success on offense, how important will special teams be when every point can matter in this game?
Yeah, critical, right? I mean, if we've learned anything the past 3 weeks of all the games that we've played, all these things have come down to a kick, right? And so those pivotal moments of special teams, again, are something that we don't take for granted. We spend a bunch of time in that phase of the game so that can be a competitive advantage for us, and we got to do a great job this week in that regard again.
When it comes to stopping an offense like this, what can you do this week to prepare for them to ensure that the defense is working together as a unit?
Yeah, I mean, great communication, right? Making sure that we're, again, with all the pre-snap movement, doing a great job communicating with what we're seeing, that we're on the same page, so that, again, we don't have a controllable, again, in the communication that is a bust in our regards to we're a gap short or we're a hat short of where we need to be. You know, we got to make them earn every single blade of grass that they're going to go get.
Is there an Aztec fast technique for carving pumpkins? Did you?
So it's a tradition that me and my wife started many years ago, and it's something that we've done. It's one of my traditions, one of our family traditions that I love the most. And ever since we've had our kids, obviously it's gotten better and better. So we use stencils, a little bit of saran wrap around it, and you know, we carved out a nice little werewolf this year that we're pretty proud of. So that was a fun way to spend, you know, a good chunk of the buy.
Maybe a little top to take off and put a little NIL money in?
Hey, if someone wants to drop a treat in there for us that our kids can benefit for, I'm all for that. Aztec Link, help me out.
The offensive line, is it more of a depth concern than the guys actually starting?
Yeah. The depth of where we've been because of the injuries that we have. Yeah, there's depth. Not so much the quality of the caliber of player that we have, just the quantity that we have up and available at this point in time.
So if you had to change anything offensively because of any concerns on the offensive line?
We've streamlined the package a little bit. Again, just not knowing the combination of the five that are consistently going to be in there week in and week out, so that regardless of where guys have to play and what combination of guys need to play together, we can be uniform and we can be together in that regard.
Feel like Brian's good to go?
Again, trending the right way. The time that he has had, you know, during this bye to be off, he's, you know, says that he feels as good as he's been. Again, we'll do a few more field tests here as we get going. He'll be a game time decision, but I know if it's close at all, with the character and the heart that young man has, he's going to play.
Polk and Napier have both shown to be explosive from the slot. Aside from, you know, the 4 wide receiver set, I mean, is there a way to maybe get both of those guys on the field at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, obviously utilizing both of them in the same regard, right? We've kicked around all the different ideas, right? But I think one of the things that, you know, makes their production possible at this point in time is that neither one of them are carrying a full workload in that regard, so they're able to stay fresh throughout with all the running that our skill and our wideouts in particular do, so that way they're able to complement one another. And again, both those guys carry a heavy workload on special teams as well. You know, when you look at their output and their workload with their catapult, or excuse me, the GPS data that we have, you know, that their output week in and week out is extremely high, right? So we're mindful of that and just the total workload, the total yardage, at some point the mileage that they're running at full speed, you know, so being able to use the two of them, you know, kind of salt and pepper playing off of one another, you know, allows them to be explosive late in the game like we've seen from both of them throughout the course of the season.
And then you look at Washington State and those rushing numbers we talked about earlier. You know, 3 of the 4 first games, they went over 200.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Boise State, held under 100 for the first time. The next couple of weeks, they're barely to get above that number. Do the Broncos find something that maybe you guys can utilize to try to slow it down?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they did a really good job, you know, playing with fundamentals, playing connected. They were really, really sound, and they did a really nice job gang tackling, right? I mean, they got multiple hats to the ball, and then because of that, again, with the talent and the skill that they have, if you're in a one-on-one situation, you know, it's a toss-up. It's a 50-50 deal, right? So we got to do a really good job, again, communicating pre-snap, making sure that we're aligned for whatever it is, the post-snap realities that we're seeing, and then getting multiple hats to the ball to tackle all the talent, not just the quarterback, but all the talent and all the skill that they have in their playmakers when they have the ball in their hands.
Cooper's had a big workload this year. How important was it during the break to get him some reps?
Yeah, same, right? I mean, not only the workload that he's had this year, but the workload that he's had throughout his career, right? You don't get the total yardage and the total output that he's had, right, without having that consistency of workloads throughout the year. So yeah, being able to shut him down a little bit, right, and yet him still being engaged mentally, you know, I think is probably, you know, going to pay some dividends down the stretch here with just getting his body fresh.
So did he just get a lot fewer reps last week?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who have played significant snaps, especially early in the week, that we put on ice, and you know, he wore out the recovery room and in the training room, and our medical staff did a great job taking care of him. We used, you know, the early days in the week of last week on Tuesday and Wednesday for some development of you know, the competitive depth of our roster. So not just Coop, but a lot of the guys who have played a bunch of snaps. You know, again, utilizing this time. It's the last window of opportunity that we have, especially as we move through the second half of the season. Short week coming up after this week. We wanted to be smart. We want to be intentional. We want to position the whole roster in a position to have success as we move through this week, but obviously down the stretch as a whole.
Is there anybody who did a really good job in that development phase you were just talking about?
Parker did a nice job. Parker did a nice job. You know, and then I would also highlight, you know, Jason Mitchell's done a nice job in those settings as well. And then Cody Cornelius did a nice job as well. He flashed, you know, but all those guys and all the young guys, you know, it's just fun. Like, I thought it brought a lot of good energy, you know, to the whole team when, you know, those guys who have been doing a great job in their roles servicing the team on scout teams, right? Then you kind of put the varsity guys on ice and they get to kind of be like the student coaches as those young guys go and scrimmage and they're cheering and hooting and hollering for the guys who have helped the team win. Now they get to see them win, so to speak, right, throughout the course of the week. And just there's some great, you know, positive energy that gets taken from that.
With Parker making that change, is that something that had been brewing for a while? And does he kind of bring that up, or do the coaches kind of come to him? And how does that kind of come to fruition?
It's a long story, right? I mean, like, but it goes all the way back to his recruitment and obviously his physical gifts and his, you know, genetic makeup and what he's willing to do to play football at the FBS level and everything, right? So, you know, he kind of knew coming into it that this might be his future, and, you know, we give him an opportunity at quarterback, but as we've moved through it, it's like, all right, again, there's a skill set here with a unique set of traits that we feel like we can cultivate and care for and that he's willing to work on. And so there's dialogue that happens back and forth, and he's willingly embraced it, and he's casted aside the red jersey. He's in a black jersey, and away we go.
That was something that you went through as part of your playing career, going from a high school quarterback to a tight end at Wisconsin. You know, what was that experience like for you personally, and how can you know, sort of share that with Parker going forward?
Yeah, when you take that non-contact jersey off for the first day, and for me individually, Erasmus James throws you out of the C gap, you know, onto the sideline. That's a eye-opening moment that you might want to go talk to the nutritionist and gain some weight so that you can be physically stout enough to play the position, right? But just empathetic, obviously, to that change, right? And so, again, it's not something that we're ever going to do unless the young man and that young man's family and the individual is willing to embrace it and is looking for it. And it's not something that we're going to do unless we believe that that young man with the change is going to have the impact to help the team win, either short-term or long-term, right? And we kind of lay that out and, again, have transparent conversations about why we think this is beneficial versus where he's currently at, you know, in the position room that he's sitting in, the same way that Coach Horton did for me many years ago at Wisconsin. And, you know, he pointed to Owen Daniels, who had made that change. And so, you know, we're able to talk to and speak to guys in the past. Like Jay-Sean Polk wasn't a high school receiver, right? He was a high school DB, you know, but he wasn't an every down, you know, receiver at the high school rank. So we can point to a Polk and say, hey, look, like he's developed this skill set. You know, hey, Jordan Napier, same way, right? Like he played a little back and forth, but now he's just majoring in this position. So there's, you know, proof of concept. There is evidence of what that can become. And again, as long as the young man and his family are on board and they embrace it, then I think great things can come from it.
Coach, how close is Keenan Christian? Is he getting close, or you know?
Yeah, I mean, so he's been able to do a little bit more field work the past couple weeks here. Again, like our medical team has done an unbelievable job caring for him through the rehab. Keenan's done a great job working at a really, really high level to get back as soon as possible. So we're continuing to take that day by day and see where it goes to where he can be at his best self and be able to do the things that make him special and be able to protect himself when he steps in between the white lines, right? So that we're doing, again, right by him and the team as well in that regard.
Is there an ability for him, if he can't play, to pick up a medical red shirt and actually have another year?
Yeah, we'll have to work through that process if we get to that point.
But he is eligible.
I got to talk to compliance through all that and everything.
With all the other wide receivers who've already been playing there all year, what's the chances of Parker actually getting into a game and getting it?
This year, I mean, not many, right? But there's a good story behind the scenes that, again, these reps that we get, and hopefully as we continue to earn the opportunity to play, you know, more ball, right? And, you know, the benefits of Parker, but all the young guys, right, that are continuing to grow and to develop and have gone through, you know, our developmental lifting program because they're redshirting, then to steal some more extra practices through bowl prep would be invaluable, right? But Parker is, you know, probably not going to have a significant impact this weekend in homecoming when it comes to, you know, number of targets that he's going to have offensively.
There's been some, obviously, guys who wanted to preserve their red shirt, who have decided to enter the transfer portal. We've got a couple of linemen, JC guys, you know, Tyler, who just got here,
Yep.
and you know, talked to you know, Mike, and he said if there's anybody who needed a red shirt, it might have been that guy. Same thing with Cy, you know, he has
Yep.
potential to be, you know, the next guy up. You know, can you say about those two guys in particular and their willingness to step up, think about now and not necessarily try to do kind of the look at the future and what they need?
Yeah, I think it's awesome, right? And I think offensive linemen are the greatest human beings walking planet Earth right now, right? And for Cy and Tyler to be able to say, okay, hey, like, what the team needs and what the team is asking me to do is the most important thing that's going on right now. And those guys are so competitive, and they've poured into their craft, and, you know, be willing to do the things that we're asking them to do, right? But I mean, ultimately, those guys are in a position where right now, as we sit, they offer their teammates and this team the best chance to win. And so they're like, heck yeah, like, let's go play, right? Like, I came here to play, and I came here to win at a high level. And coaches, if you mean by me playing right now, that gives me a chance to play, and it gives us a chance to win, then let's go forward and let's do it, and let's rock and roll. And both those guys have embraced that mindset, and it's awesome.